and you're live with the Beanpot Debate. I'm your host, Tanner Bell. I'm the site expert for Chowder and Champions, a fan-sided website. Alongside me today is Evan Cook, and in the Patriots hat is Justin Doyle. We're going to talk about the New England Patriots and their road to the Super Bowl 51, where they'll be facing the Atlanta Falcons. But first, we're going to talk about the AFC Championship game in which the Patriots defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers in Foxborough at Gillette Stadium. So we're going to start off with our thoughts from that game. Evan, what'd you take away from that win over the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Answer your question. Patriots they dominated them. The Patriots dominated the Steelers in pretty much every aspect of the game. Like that entire game, you just felt like there was no shot the Steelers were able to come back. Even when it looked like they had a chance to possibly take the lead on like 3 different drives, every time you watch them, it's like, God, this team is so bad. The entire time, I never had the feeling they were going to come back, especially late in that first half where the Steelers were down on the 1-yard line on 1st and goal and couldn't get it in. After that, I said, okay, this game's over.
Justin, what was your thoughts on the game?
It was a Chris Hogan show. That's what I noticed. Who apparently played 3 years of lacrosse and not football in college. And
Bill Belichick.
Apparently, he couldn't make it in professional lacrosse, so he said, I'll try out football for a year. And now he's the star on the Pats. And then, like Evan said, I mean, when you can't score and you're on the 1-yard line, and then that was pretty much a sign that they weren't going to win. And then they missed the extra point or that chip shot field goal. I forget what it was. I think it was an extra point.
It was an extra point.
Yeah. Once he missed that, I mean, it was pretty much a sign that there was the Steelers, their heads weren't in the game.
I think it's interesting to talk about the Steelers, the game in particular. Le'Veon Bell went down pretty early, but I think the Patriots game planned well enough that if Bell was able to be healthy throughout that game, I think they were going to be able to shut him down or limit him in a way that he didn't really have an effectiveness. So I think the Patriots would have game planned for Bell. So there's a Steelers fan that says if Bell was healthy, Steelers would have won. Well, I don't think so. I think the Patriots would have still been able to handle him in the Steelers game plan. And I think Chris Hogan's interesting. I think with the Patriots, it's tough to say that Chris Hogan is a star receiver because if you put him on another team, he's not that. Like a Julio Jones is a different kind of player. But with the Patriots and their offense, Josh McDaniels, Tom Brady, they're able to take a player like Chris Hogan, who didn't really have that much success in Buffalo, and put him into this offense and kind of just make it work. They ran a couple plays that reminded me of Rob Gronkowski. They used similar packages that they would have used with Gronk. Different size player, but they kind of ran the same way. He has a pretty good height to him too. I think it's interesting because Julian Edelman actually had an amazing game as well, and Malcolm Mitchell had an okay game. But it really was the Chris Hogan show. But that's what makes the Patriots dangerous week to week. It can be anybody. It could be James White. It could be Deion Lewis. It could be LeGarrette Blount. It could be Malcolm Mitchell, Michael Floyd, Julian Edelman. It could be anybody. And that's what really makes them dangerous going into the Super Bowl. And I think you guys were spot on. The Steelers were never close in this game. It never felt like anything was in jeopardy for the Patriots. And that was actually the same case in the NFC, where the Atlanta Falcons defeated the Green Bay Packers. Both NFL championship games this weekend were garbage. They weren't close. They weren't entertaining. And that's my opinion on it. What you about to say something, Evan?
Yeah, I was going to say, you've seen literally one good game in the NFL playoffs this postseason, and that was the Green Bay-Dallas game.
Yeah.
And one point I wanted to make about Chris Hogan. He had the same exact stat line as Julio Jones, yet nobody's going to talk about Chris Hogan. Everyone will be talking about Julio Jones. Just want to throw it out there.
I think that's the product of just the Patriots being that good, where they can make any player look like Chris Hogan was. And don't take away from Chris Hogan's performance, but Julian Edelman could have the same game, and he had an amazing game too. It could have been Malcolm Mitchell. With Julio Jones, that's the only player on the Falcons, where I think with the Patriots, people just tend to overlook their receivers because of Tom Brady.
Yeah, one thing I didn't like what Chris Hogan did yesterday, I think like 4 or 5 balls he did not catch cleanly. He bobbled like 4 or 5 balls before he caught them, including, I think, one of the big touchdowns. I think it was his first one.
Sometimes it happens, but he reeled it in. There was
I
that
mean,
one pass that Brady threw behind him, but
yeah, I mean,
um,
don't get me wrong, he still made the catch and still had a great game. But when you have a wide receiver out there, you don't really want him to bobble it. Like if you bobble it, you're gonna have a chance to that's gonna have a chance to go the other way.
so let's move on and talk about the upset, in my opinion, in Atlanta. Atlanta Falcons defeated the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. Justin and I last week on this show picked the Green Bay Packers to win because that bad man Aaron Rodgers. Funny thing is, Aaron Rodgers did not show up. Limited weapons on offense. His defense looked like garbage, and Matt Ryan picked apart Green Bay for the victory. So, Evan, props where props are due. You picked the Atlanta Falcons to win
Thank
in the
you.
NFC Championship game. Now they're going to the Super Bowl. So, what was your thoughts from that win for the Atlanta Falcons over the Green Bay Packers?
That's a bad defense from Green Bay, and the better defense always wins. That's literally the mindset that I went with it. I mean, actually, Aaron Rodgers did have a pretty bad game. I didn't realize how bad it was until now. But it was just the Packers were just overmatched by the Atlanta offense. They had literally no answers for them whatsoever. It was just they dominated all facets of the game. That's literally all you can say about that, especially on offense. Defensively, towards the end of the game, I mean, they started scoring some touchdowns just because they kind of had to. So they were kind of just going pedal to the metal. Besides that, I thought Green Bay was just dominating. And exactly what I thought was going to happen. Just because you're going into Atlanta, yeah, Atlanta is Atlanta, but they still had a great year. And Green Bay was going on the road for another tough place to play for the second week in a row.
Justin, your thoughts on that game?
Well, like the Pats game, it was the Chris Hogan show. This was the Julio Jones and Matty Ice show. I mean, what I think Ryan had 5 touchdown passes.
5 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown, I believe.
And Julio had what, 2 or 3 of those, right?
Yep.
And Matt Ryan was on fire. I mean, it looked like Aaron Rodgers was on fire going into the game too, with all those crazy plays he made in the previous week. But I just, I think it was Green Bay's defense that was kind of led to their demise.
I think the Falcons are a very interesting team. I like Matt Ryan, Boston College guy. I do like him a lot. He's had a lot of offensive weapons over the years. Julio Jones is top 3 receiver in the NFL, arguably the best receiver in the NFL. They have 2 solid running backs, Tavon Coleman and Devontae Freeman. And Matt Ryan is really good on offense, and it's going to be a tough matchup for the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. Personally, it's a 3-point. I think it opened at 3 points on the spread right now in favor of the Patriots. But it's going to be a tough game for the New England Patriots. I just don't see the Falcons beating the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I don't know if it's just me, but I just can't fathom a team like the Atlanta Falcons beating the Patriots, and maybe that's an issue. I'm kind of worried about that, actually. I don't know, but Evan, your thoughts on that? Do you envision at this point in time, we're still about 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks away. Can you envision the Falcons beating the Patriots?
No, and for one reason and one reason only: the better defense always beats the better offense.
You know what? I agree completely. The Patriots defense looked really good. Eric Rowe looked fantastic. Actually, Logan Ryan was impressive.
And you know what? I know what Eric Rowe's stats were across the line. I thought Eric Rowe probably had one of the worst games on the Patriots day.
Think so?
Yeah. It felt like on every single play that he had the guy beat, and he just happened to go through his hands or was overthrown. He had a lot of space between him and the receiver on at least 5 of those plays. That one interception he had, that ball was literally right to him. He didn't even have to move.
I thought Malcolm Butler actually had the worst game in that whole secondary. I thought Antonio Brown was able to get pretty good separation on Butler, especially later in the game. That tends to worry me for Julio Jones, but they'll be able to box up Julio Jones, I think, pretty well.
You're probably I'm guessing you're probably going to double cover him with Butler and it's probably McCourty.
Yeah, that's what they did to Antonio Brown for the most part.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're probably going to do the same exact thing. But the guy you need to worry about is, I think especially Logan Ryan, he had a fantastic game yesterday, I thought. But I thought but the guy I look at is Eric Rowe. I just thought he looked really bad yesterday. There were a lot of plays with the ball was like thrown right to him and he drops it, and obviously that helps on Rowe's stats, but the ball is like thrown right to him. The receiver couldn't make it. There was just a lot of. I just thought Rowe had a lucky/bad game.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. I thought Rowe looked fine. I don't really expect much out of him. So if you get any kind of production, I mean, yeah, you can say the receiver messed up, overthrown, anything like that, but that happens a lot when you're defending a player. And he didn't give up that big play. So that's kind of interesting. The thing is, I'm trying to gather my thoughts here, what I want to say. But I really don't think the Patriots defense is going to be the issue for the Patriots going against the Falcons. I think it is going to be the offense. I know it's weird to say that, but I can kind of envision the offense getting off to a slow start in the Super Bowl. And LeGarrette Blount got off to a slow start against the Steelers. So that kind of worries me, the running game. I know towards the end of the game, he started to pick it up a little bit, but they're going to need a strong running game against the Atlanta Falcons, I think, in the Super Bowl. I know Tom Brady will be able to figure it out, but if you watch that Falcons pass rush, they hit Aaron Rodgers pretty hard. There was the blindside hit on Rodgers that was scary. And if that was Tom Brady, I don't know how quick he's going to get up from that. So that definitely worries me a lot. The pressure that they put on Rodgers. I know the Patriots defense is better than Atlanta's defense, but the pressure they put on Rodgers does scare me. And if they can do that to Brady, considering I don't think the O-line has played that well as of late, that's scary. And I don't know if that scares you, Evan or Justin, but to me, protecting Tom Brady is going to be key for the Patriots to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, well, yeah, but that defense, I just trust the Patriots on. I know you said you're scared about the Patriots offense, but I got to look at the defense. If you can hold the number one stat everybody keeps saying about the Patriots defense is they don't give up points.
They don't give up touchdowns. They give up field goals.
What was their average points per game in the regular season?
Patriots.
Yeah.
On defense, points allowed. I think they were second in the league, in the entire league.
It was first, and it was 16.5 points per game. How many points did they give up against the Texans?
What in the divisional round?
Yeah.
Was it 16?
Yep. How many did they give up yesterday?
16.
No, they didn't. They gave up 17.
Right.
What's the average between 16 and 17?
Okay, 16 and a half.
Right on average. I trust I'm giving Atlanta 3 touchdowns, so that could be anywhere from 18 to 24 points, depending on extra kicks and field goals. Extra kicks and extra points and 2-point conversion. So you can miss them, make them, whatever. So I'm going anywhere between 18 and 24 points. So can the Patriots hit 25 points? I say no, they're absolutely going to. I just don't trust the Atlanta defense that much, especially against the Patriots offense, which is going to be rested.
Yeah, I'm just worried about that protecting Brady thing. But I think the Patriots offense will be able to find open receivers. They'll be able to move the ball well, just keeping Tom Brady healthy. But then you go with the argument, well, maybe even Jimmy Garoppolo could beat the Atlanta Falcons. So we'll see what happens in that game. We'll probably have a lot more to talk about next week on the podcast as far as the New England Patriots Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl matchup, and especially day-to-day on chatterandchampions.com, where we have wall-to-wall coverage of the New England Patriots Super Bowl 51 run, the drive for 5. So that's going on. But we're going to move on. We're going to talk about football still. We're going to talk about a former wide receiver and legend Hall of Famer, Deion Sanders, who had some interesting comments regarding Patriots receiver Julian Edelman. Sanders basically said that there's reverse racism surrounding Julian Edelman and the fact that he is underappreciated because he is a white receiver in the NFL. I actually disagree with Sanders on this point, but I'll give you guys a chance to kind of voice your opinions on this matter, starting with Justin.
Oh, I don't agree with him, but I don't fully disagree with him because Edelman's a fairly big name in the league, but he's definitely not among the top names that when you say name a top wide receiver. Over Julio Jones, Jordy Nelson, a few others out there. I can't think off the top of my head. I know there's more, but I got a brain fart. But he's probably in most people's list, maybe top 15, top 20. And it may also have to do with the fact that he's got a Patriots logo on his jersey, not something else. So that's maybe it. And that may be a little homer in me, but people just don't like the Patriots. But it's nice. I think he's one of the best, but it's nice to see that he is being recognized by a legend like Deion Sanders too. So, I see both ways, but I think I'm going more towards the agreement side with Sanders.
All right, Evan, what's your thoughts on that?
It's interesting. I mean, he is. I mean, he made it into a race thing. Basically, just so I have it clear, he said that Edelman isn't appreciated enough because he's a white wide receiver. Correct?
I will read the direct quote from him. Julian Edelman is one of the best receivers in the league. It's like reverse racism. I'm not lying. This is real talk. Julian Edelman, just because he's a Caucasian receiver, they don't give him the credit that he deserves. He deserves so much more. The kid can flat out play. There hasn't been an answer for him over the last several years. Julian Edelman moves the change. He can get deep. He works between the numbers, works outside the numbers. He can throw a football. He can run the football. He does it all, man. That's what Deion Sanders had to say. That was the quote.
I was going to try to make fun of it because he's a white slot wide receiver for the Patriots. I was trying to make a joke about that, but I really can't. Yeah, I got to go with just like exactly what Justin had to say. He basically he was. It's nice to see that he's being more appreciated by a great wide receiver like Deion Sanders.
I do agree with you guys there. I think it is nice to see recognition from a legend like Deion Sanders, but I don't think he's right here. I don't think it is reverse racism. I don't think it's because he's white. I think it's simply the position he plays. He's averaged 98 receptions over the last 3 seasons, and he doesn't get paid like an elite wideout. He's averaged $2.5 million in 2016, $3 million next year. And it simply is because he is a slot receiver. The Patriots, they had Troy Brown, and they went to Wes Welker, then they went to Julian Edelman. So they've had significant success in bringing in slot receivers to the offense. I think he's definitely an incredible talent, but you're simply not going to pay a slot receiver the money. And you kind of have to think about the Tom Brady factor as well, and that why would Julian Edelman hold out, considering he probably knows that if he went anywhere other than New England, he probably wouldn't get the numbers that he gets here. So I think it's more the position that he plays and not the fact that he is Caucasian, if that makes any sense. Move on to our next topic, and it is, where is Roger Goodell? Marty Bennett, the New England Patriots, said that the commissioner of the NFL has been kind of like, where's Waldo as of late. Patriots fans were chanting Roger, Roger, Roger. Then Scott Solak, the color guy for 98.5, the Sports Hub, during the game, he was on the Jumbotron holding up a sign saying, where is Roger? And the Gillette Stadium crowd ended up chanting it. So Roger Goodell was in Atlanta. He was at the NFC Championship game. It was the second straight week he actually was in Atlanta. He was in Atlanta for the divisional round. So Roger Goodell, he has to face Tom Brady, and he hasn't seen the guy since the Deflategate ended. And this is the time. This is the revenge that Patriots fans want. So Evan, I'm going to ask you, what do you think is going to happen between Roger Goodell, Tom Brady, and the Patriots, and what would you like to actually see happen?
In Houston, when Roger Goodell is giving Tom Brady in the Patriots organization the Lombardi Trophy, specifically Kraft and Bob and Jonathan Kraft, it might be the most awkward engagement you will ever see. That's the entire thing where it's going to be. Just watching a Roger Goodell at the Super Bowl is just going to be awkward. There's really nothing I can think that's going to happen. I mean, I don't think anything like, like the Patriots are just going to rub it in their face. You might get a comment like from Kraft, like how he did yesterday at the game after when they get the Lamar Hunt Trophy, where it basically said, all you Patriots fans out there, you know how much we wanted this one. Basically just giving a giant FU to the league. You might get something like that, but specifically from Roger Goodell, it's just going to be a very, very awkward encounter, I feel like.
Justin?
I just can't wait to see Roger Goodell give Tom Brady that trophy. One more for the 5th time.
So I think it's going to be interesting. Say Tom Brady has an amazing game. He should be the MVP. He's not going to get the MVP.
I
It's going to hand to a guy like Edelman or something like that. There's no way Roger Goodell is going to directly hand Tom Brady anything. There's no way he's going to hand him the Lombardi. He's not going to hand him anything like that. He's going to have to hand it to the Crafts. That's going to be one hell of an awkward exchange here, right? But what I'm more interested in is all the media obligations he has to do with the coaches. And, he has to do all that stuff Super Bowl week. That's what I'm interested in, to see how that kind of works out. But it's going to be very awkward and very weird. And you might see some really good quotes coming out of that week, especially guys from like Martellus Bennett. I think that's really interesting. I know they asked Tom Brady on WEI this morning. They asked him, like, what would he say to Roger Goodell? And he said he might let us all know at some point what he's going to say. But it must be interesting. I would like to be a bug on the wall behind closed doors when Brady and Goodell meet for the first time since that. That would be interesting to hear what goes on there. And it might not be anything, but still, that'd be pretty cool. But it's going to be awkward, Evan. You're absolutely right. So we're going to move on to our last topic, and it's not going to be football. We've been all footballed out, and a lot more football to talk to over the next 2 weeks, but we're moving on to something else. There's a couple other sports going on, but we're only going to talk about hockey coming up, and it's going to be the Boston Bruins. The Boston Bruins have lost 4 straight games. Head coach Claude Julien is on the firing line, potentially. Cam Neely might be on the firing line. The team is struggling. They're trying to do a bunch of different things. They're changing practice times, extra long film sessions, frustrating coaches. Claude Julien vented to the media yesterday. Players are venting to the media. So I'm going to turn the Justin here. He's the Boston Bruins guy for Chowder and Champions. And Justin, what is your thoughts on the team? What would you like to see them do? And do you think they're actually going to fire Claude Julien or anyone in the front office?
Well, to sum up the Bruins right now in one word, it'd be garbage. They're just terrible. Nothing's working for them. I don't think that we're going to fire Claude this season. I mean, if they fire Claude mid-season, that means Bruce Cassidy has to become head coach, and I don't think he's barely been the assistant coach in the NHL, never mind a head coach in the league. So it'd be kind of weird to just kind of kick him into the deep end and say, bring the team back from crappy year. So I'd say maybe if you keep Claude, they have a slight chance of making the playoffs. They'll probably get bumped in the first round. And I'd say maybe Claude's not a bad coach. He's been here for, I think it's his 10th or 11th season here now.
I believe it's his 11th.
It's been here too long. Thanks, Claude. Thanks for the one cup, the second time and then the second appearance. But I think it's time for him to go. I don't think Neely at the end of the season, I think he could be on the chopping block. I mean, he's made some questionable decisions, especially with a small guy named Tyler Sagan. I don't know if anyone knows who that is. And team-wise, Bergeron, Krejci, Backus, those Chara, none of them are stepping up. They're all the veterans on the team. The second, third, and fourth lines are full of 25 and under-year-old kids. They don't have any experience.
I think it's interesting when you talk about a guy like Cam Neely, who the buck ultimately stops with him. He's the guy making the decisions. We always blame Peter Chiarelli for locking up contracts, but ultimately Cam had to sign off on those. The Tyler Sagan trade, he had to sign off on that. Trading a second-round pick for Zach Ronaldo, he had to sign off on that. The trade for Jimmy Hayes, he signed off on that. The trade for Brett Connolly, he signed off on that. The re-signing of Jimmy Hayes, signed off on that. I can go on and on of mistakes that Cam Neely has approved. Whether or not he had to make the final decision or give power to someone who can make that decision, whether it be a Sweeney or a Chiarelli. I do not think this is all Claude's fault. What is Claude's fault is the lack of production from his veterans, the guys he has praised in his career. Patrice Bergeron, he's on a cold stretch. I think he'll turn it around. Bergie's a really good player. Marchand's kind of cold too. Pasternak's gotten cold as well. The whole team is pretty much underproducing at this point. And is that a product of Claude? Probably. But if we're being honest with ourselves, they're a borderline playoff team. You could see them getting in, you could see them getting out. And that was with a roster that I believe was productive. If they were a productive roster from top to bottom, they're a borderline playoff team. So I don't think that's really Claude's fault if they missed the playoffs. I think it's the front office's fault for failing to provide him a roster that can compete. The thing that I'm not worried about is seeing a guy like Brandon Carlo, who was looking really well and developing. I think he's starting to slow. You're not really seeing that step forward again. A guy like Pastrnak seems to be regressing a little bit, and that's the stuff I'm worried about. But I don't think you fire Claude now. I think you fire him at the end of the season. But I think Cam Neely has to go, and I would not mind firing Cam right now. If you fire Cam right now, you're basically throwing in the towel. But I think you bring in new people sooner than later to give them more time to start the rebuild. And I think the team has to break down to rebuild. I think you're going to not win a championship with a guy like Chara here. You might not win one with Bergeron or Krejci or Martian. These guys might be long gone next time you win a championship. Because at this point in time, this team is, 3, 4, 5 seasons away from winning a championship. And that's if they actually focus on rebuilding the team. And that's being conservative, I think. I don't know, Justin, when's the next time you think this team can win a championship if they focus on building the team right now?
If they focus on building the team right now, it means they got to make a move. You got to
Sure.
trade a guy like Krejci. I mean, I hate to say it. I don't know if he'll ever let it happen, but trade a guy like Bergeron. I don't want to see it, but, I mean, if it helps you win, then, hey, Wayne Gretzky got traded.
I think if you tell yourself that you're not going to be contending for a Stanley Cup for another 3 seasons, then maybe you do trade a guy like Bergeron. Maybe you do, but I'm not sure that's a smart decision to make. And I don't think they're that far away from being a playoff contending team. Maybe it's a move, maybe it's 2 moves. The fact is they got to get production out of these players, out of their veterans. If they can do that, they get back on track, they'll make the playoffs. They make another small move, maybe they inch a little bit closer. And then Chara moves on. Maybe it's a guy like Charlie McAvoy steps in, he's a top 4 defenseman right there. And then you have a solid forward group. Maybe a guy like Danton Heinen comes up, plays well too. Maybe Robbie O'Gara, maybe Matt Grzelcyk. So I think they have some prospects here that they can play with. They can potentially get back to being a contending team sooner than later. But I don't see it under Claude. And I don't see it with guys like Chara or a guy like John Michael Lyles who are just taking up space at this time. They're not going to move those contracts. They can't move Chara. Unlikely to move Krejci, I think, as well. But I'd like to see them try to do something here. And if they stand pat at the deadline, I don't like to see that because that tells you that they don't know what they're doing. I'd rather see them try to buy or sell because that'll show they actually have a clear direction of what they're headed. And I don't think they have any idea what they're doing in the future. Evan, what is your mindset? I know you've kind of fallen off the Bruins track as far as keeping track of the team, but that's because they've been bad. So, Evan, why don't you say why you aren't watching the team? And I think it's a pretty simple answer.
There's a million other things I'd rather do than watch a team not score.
Exactly. Boring.
Those are just boring games. I mean, I wouldn't fire Claude just because it's like he's going to be one of your best options like in the league. But, I mean, look at the roster. It's really bad. Like right now, even with like, if I'm not mistaken, aren't they don't like everybody behind them in the standings have like a lot of games in hand?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
So if you do exactly what the other people do, and they're like right in front of the other teams. So if you do exactly what the other teams do, you're out of the playoffs.
Correct.
They're not a playoff team. They're not a playoff team. They're not going to be a playoff team. How long are you going to sustain this borderline playoff mediocrity? You got to blow it up. You got to blow it up. And they should have did this 2 years ago, but they didn't. And they kind of just held around for it. And now it's 2 years later. You're probably another 4 years away from actually winning anything. They got to blow it up. They got to blow it up soon. And hopefully you can just start rebuilding and just try to start from scratch again. And like you said, Justin, you don't want to see it, but a guy like Bergeron, you might have to treat a guy like Bergeron or Krejci to try to start that process.
I have been impressed with the way they brought up a guy like Brandon Carlo, and I do think they have tons of really good prospects on the horizon, which 2 seasons ago they didn't have. So I think Sweeney's done a nice job drafting and acquiring talent, especially at the lower levels, but not necessarily at the NHL level. And maybe you do trade a Bergeron. Maybe it's something like that. But I hope I never see Bergeron get traded, to be honest with you. I'm a big fan of his game, and I think that's what they want to do going forward, and I don't think they'll ever trade him. But I agree. They need to start to shave off some of these veterans, and maybe next year we'll actually see a team that's committed to the youth movement. That's what they were to start the year. They had Robbie O'Gara was up here, Dante Heinen was up here. You had Brendan Carlo. Pasternak's really young too, and they kind of had more of that rookie young presence to start the season, and now they've gotten away from that with guys like Adam McQuaid, Kevin Miller coming back from injury. Back is coming back from injury as well a couple of times. I would like to see them go towards that. So if they trade away a couple of veterans at the deadline and then play some of these youngsters down from Providence, that's what I want to see. And maybe Frank Vetrano will get another step on because he's trying to still kind of get back from that injury that he came back, December he came back from injury. He's still trying to gain from that. So we got a lot to talk about in the next couple of weeks, especially with the New England Patriots going to the Super Bowl against Atlanta Falcons. But for now, that's it. Do you guys have any closing thoughts?
Go Pats.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great week. Follow us on social media, on Facebook and on Twitter, and check out the website chowderanchampions.com.